Good morning, everybody. Today I thought I would provide some updates on my TBR, both Taylor Swift coded and general. So, since I started my Taylor Swift coded TBR right at the end of April, some of the books have flowed generously into May. Most of them have, actually. And I just wanted to provide a general update on my TBR for the upcoming months, May through the summer. So, as you know, I'm doing the Taylor Swift coded TBR, which is books based on Taylor Swift prompts from Rachel, Catherine, in these Lyrics and Lines videos. Most of my other books from May have carried over from last month's TBR. There are a few books that have been added for this month. When I see my friend Kate on Friday, I will be borrowing Everything is Beautiful by Catherine Center, The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston, Rock Bottom Girl by Lucy Score, and the Nashville and Regency duologies by Sarah Adams from her. And throughout the rest of May and all summer, I will be focusing my TBR on certain genres like I have been in the past couple of months. And one of the main genres I'm going to be focusing on is historical fiction, because one of my writing goals for the past couple of years has been to write my own historical fiction. When I was in the PTA play in 2022, when we did Tuck Everlasting, I was doing a historical fiction that's based after the end of the musical. But now that I have been done with doing that play for a couple of years, I figured I would take a hand in writing a fan fiction with original character, a historical fiction with original characters in it. So the best way to get inspiration for historical fictions, I found, is to read historical fictions by other authors. One of which is The Air You Breathe by Francis de Pontes Peebles. I borrowed this book in City of Girls, which I'm going to talk about next, from my mother yesterday when I went over her house. And then I have a bunch of other historical fictions that I'm going to be reading throughout the course of the next couple of months. The next book I'm going to be reading is City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert. I feel like in one of her previous videos, either Destiny, Haley, or Sarah mentioned this book. I don't remember which one of them it was, but I feel like one of them wanted to add it to their TBR. So when I saw it in their video, I decided to read it too, because I have liked her other books, Eat, Pray, Love, and The Signature of All Things, which I have on my bookcase. So this book is a historical fiction that is set during World War II. And it's about a girl who gets kicked out of Vassar College and moves in with her aunt who lives in New York City. And it's centered around theater, which is good because, as you guys know, I like theater. The next book I'm reading this month is To Have and to Hoax, which is the first book in the Regency Vows series by Martha Waters. I have read To Swoon and to Spar and To Woo and to Wed so far, which are books 4 and 5. So I'm kind of reading the series out of order. I have liked her writing so far. Like, this is set around the same time as like Pride and Prejudice, which I'm going to be reviewing in another video on Friday when I talk about the episode from Joey that is featured in. So yeah, so far I'm really liking this series and the way the characters build up their relationships. The next book I'm reading is The Light Pirate. This book is a fiction book. And I will read you the description. Florida, as we know it, is slipping away as devastating weather patterns and rising sea levels wreak gradual havoc on the state's infrastructure. A powerful hurricane approaches a small town on the southern coast. Kirby Lowe, an electrical line worker for the local utility municipality, his pregnant wife Frida, and their two sons Flip and Lucas prepare for the worst. When the boys go missing just before the hurricane hits, Kirby heads out into the high winds in search of his children. Left alone, Frida goes into premature labor and gives birth to an unusual child, Wanda, whom she names after the catastrophic storm that ushers her into society, closer to collapse than ever before. As Florida continues to unravel, Wanda grows, moving from childhood to adulthood. She adapts only to the changing landscape, but only to the people who stayed behind. In this town, abandoned by civilization and remade by nature, Wanda loses family, community, and comes to terms with a mysterious purpose that has been whispering for all of these years. Told in 4 parts: power, water, light, and time. The light pirate mirrors the rhythms of the elements and sometimes slow dissolution of the world as we know it. It is a meditation on the changes we would rather not see, the future we would rather not greet, and a call back to the beauty and violence of an untamable wilderness. So I picked this book up because I am going to a book discussion at Print Bookstore about it in a couple of weeks. So far I am on page 112. And I'm really enjoying it so far. I think it's really interesting and engaging, and I love how it's connected to nature because it's the story that's told throughout a hurricane. The next book I'm reading was recommended to me by These Lyrics and Lines, Emmeline and Jess, and I really appreciate them for this recommendation because I am loving this book so far. I feel this main character, Isadora, is very relatable, and I will read you the description. Isadora Bentley believes that happiness is something that doesn't flat out exist in her life and never will. As a university researcher, Isadora keeps to herself as much as possible. She avoids the students she's supposed to befriend and mentor. She lives her own quiet, organized life in her own quiet, organized apartment. She will never get involved in a romantic relationship again, especially with another academic. It will just be Isadora and her research forever. But on her 30th birthday, Isadora does something completely out of character. She makes an impulse purchase of a magazine featuring a silly article detailing 31 ways to be happy, which includes everything from smiling at strangers to giving in to your chocolate cravings. Isadora decides to create her own secret research project, proving the writer of the ridiculous piece wrong. As Isadora gets deeper into her research and meets a handsome professor along the way, she's stunned to discover that maybe, just maybe, she's proving herself wrong. Perhaps there's something to be said about loosening up and letting life take you somewhere happy. So I really love this book. I think it's endearing and very sweet. As I said, Isadora is a really relatable character, and I like the relationship that is building up between her and her co-worker, Cal. The other character that I really like is the little 10-year-old girl that's her neighbor. Her name is Daphne. She's really cute, and I like the relationship that's building up between them. So far, I am on page 149, chapter 15. And now I will go into my Taylor Swift themed prompts books that I've read. So for the April TBR video for These Lyrics and Lines, the book that I chose was My Lady Jane, which I talked about in my last video. And I really loved this book about Lady Jane Grey because I didn't really know much about her going into it. And I thought the authors did a really good job of explaining what her life was like and the relationship build up between her and her romantic interest. So I gave that book a B The next book I read for this list was Betty, which has a person's name in the title. And the book that I read for that was Alex Approximately by Jen Bennett. Honestly, this book could also go in the overhyped books prompt along with the cheat sheet because I don't understand why this book is so popular. I think the relationship is weird because it's based on false identities and not really knowing who the other person is, and the guy Parker has a foot fetish, which is really, really gross. So I did not like that book. The next book that I am reading in this book is the next book that I am reading in this list is You Need to Calm Down, an overhyped book. And sadly, the book that goes with this prompt is The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. I had to DNF this book at 52% because I couldn't connect to the characters, and I thought that the main female character, much like Liz in Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter, was extremely unlikable and whiny, so I didn't really care for her very much. So for the Tortured Poet Department's prompts for the May TBR video from these lyrics and lines, so far the books that I'm working on reading or finishing. The first book is I Can Fix Him, which the book that I chose to read for that prompt is Beach Read by Emily Henry, which is one of my rereads this year. It's one of my favorite books by Emily Henry, as I mentioned in my anticipated releases video for April. Gus and January are my top favorite couple in an Emily Henry book. And I just love the build-up for their relationship. I just think they're really sweet together. And I heard also through a video that Haley Pham posted that Beach Read is going to be a movie. So if anybody has heard anything about the Beach Read movie and can give me information about when it is coming out, that would be great because I really want to go see it. The next prompt is The Black Dog, which is a book that is set in London. So for this book, I am reading the Regency Vows series by Martha Waters and also To Catch a Suitor by Sarah Adams. So I really like as I was just saying when I was talking about To Have and To Hoax, I really love the Regency Vows series and the build-up of all of the relationships between the characters, and I'm looking forward to reading To Catch a Suitor. The next book that is in this prompt list the prompt is Prophecy, and the book that I read for this prompt was called Where the Dark Stands Still, and this is a Polish folk tale, which I thought was really interesting. I really loved the vibes of this book gave off that was set in nature, and it's about a fairy prince who is trying to find his way in the world and to find what the prophecy is with his family's crest or something. I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend it, and thank you again to Jessica and Emmeline for recommending this book and all of the other books you mentioned in your videos. I really appreciate these recommendations. And the final book I wanted to talk about for the Taylor Swift prompts today is The Tortured Poet Society, which is a book about a book. And this is a book I just found on the table for the book swap that my apartment building is doing. It's called The Bookshop on the Corner by Jenny Colgan. And it is a book that is about a woman who matches up readers to certain books. She works in a bookstore. Her bookstore has to close down, and she ends up buying like a bookmobile type of thing where she can travel around the country, which is Scotland, to meet people along the way and match them up with books. Like, I think it's just really cool that she's a matchmaker with books instead of with people. I think that's a really cool concept, and I also like the setting of this book because it's a place I've never been to before, which is Scotland. So, as I was mentioning at the beginning of the video, for the next couple of months, May, June, July, and August, my TBRs will be genre-based, which means I will be focusing on certain genres instead of just getting random books from the library. And I also want to focus more on reading more books that are on my bookshelves instead of having to go back and forth to the library so often. Of course, I will still continue to go to the library, but just not as frequently as I have been going because I have so many books that I own that I still need to read. And one of my main goals is to finish rereading Harry Potter and reread the Twilight series in Midnight Sun. And I am holding myself accountable for all of this. And the reason why I want to read more books on my bookshelf and less books from the library is because, of course, I own the Harry Potter books. I have them on the shelf behind me. And the last 3 Harry Potter books are super long. I have been reading Harry Potter in the Order of the Phoenix for 3 weeks, and right now I have about 200 pages left to go, or a little bit less than 200. I'm on page 745, and there are 912 pages in the book, so I'm trying to read less books in the next couple of months just so I can finish Harry Potter and effortlessly move into rereading Twilight, and then I will be the next fantasy series I actually sort of want to reread after Twilight actually is Chronicles of Narnia, because I haven't read those books since I was 10, and I remember not being a huge fan of The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe because I thought it was scary, but now that I'm an adult, I have a feeling I might appreciate the world building of Narnia much more than I did as a child, so I'm looking forward to reading those books again too. My other thematic focus for the summer, besides historical fiction, is anticipated releases, because there are 3 new books coming out in June. A Rivalry of Thorns by Tijania Odette, the author of the Entangled with Fae series. The Rom-Commers by Catherine Center and Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. And Meg Schaefer, who wrote The Wishing Game, is coming out with a new book in July called The Lost Book, which I found out about through These Lyrics and Lines. So I'm very excited to read these books in the next couple of months. And I also have like a seasonal thematic TBR with books that are set at the beach at the lake. So like books that are in this list include Beach Read, Malibu Rising, Every Summer After, Love and Other Words, Our Final Love Song by N.S. Perkins, and that's about it. Another book that I just finished for that TBR list is The Roughest Draft by Emily Wimberly and Austin Cinnamon Broca, and I thought this book was really cute. It's about 2 people who are married to each other who are writers, and I think this book is very metatextual because these authors are married to each other and they're both writers, and the couple in this story is going through a tough time in their marriage, and they are forced by their publisher to write another book together because they have one more book to write together into their contract. They have one more book left in their contract to write together. So this book is really sweet because they kind of write notes back and forth to each other through the characters in their books. So I really think that's adorable, and I loved this book so much. I thought it was very cute. I thought the plot was really well developed. And another book I read by these authors that was part of the Taylor Swift TBR, which I didn't particularly care for very much, and I gather that it got a lot of negative reviews on Goodreads because when I tried to search it up to write a review, I couldn't find it. And of course, I think people should know that I'm talking about the Breakup Tour. The Breakup Tour is about a girl named Riley who I feel is a foil for Taylor Swift. She's doing a tour where she sings songs about failed relationships with her ex-boyfriend, kind of like what Taylor Swift does with, like how she writes songs about who you can tell her about her ex-boyfriends, like Joe Jonas or John Mayer or whoever else she may have dated. And one of her ex-boyfriends, his name is Max. He is her piano player, and that's a little bit awkward. I can see why Max would feel uncomfortable doing that because they used to date in college. I get the impression from reading this book that the authors who wrote it do not really like Taylor Swift a lot because they kind of make fun of her. I get the impression that they're making fun of her, and they make Riley's character, who is the foil for Taylor Swift, out to be not likable. Like, if I were to meet Taylor Swift in real life, I think I would really like her, because based on what I have seen with her from, like, pictures on social media and stuff, she seems like she would be nice, but who knows. But, yeah. So, the Breakup Tour was another DNF. So yeah, thank you for tuning in, and I hope you guys have a great week. Bye.